Okay, so I'm going to talk about Tremors, which I've recently finished watching the TV series that was loaned to me. And I went and watched the first three movies. I might decide to do the fourth one in this, cover it a little bit, I don't know. But I'm going to go ahead and shoot off and review the three movies in the TV series. First off, the original Tremors. When I was 6 or 7 in the early 90s, I used to go over and spend the night at my grandmother's house, and I got to stay up to like 12 or 1 o'clock in the morning and be watching a lot of movies that my parents wouldn't normally let me watch, and Tremors happened to be one that would come on USA late at night, and I stayed up with my grandmother in particular because she loved these monster movies, and I watched it with her. And there was a while there where I always would go and fall asleep before the movie was over, and I keep thinking that it was just these damn snakes that were in the movie getting everybody. But eventually I finished it, and I got to love it, and I've loved it ever since then. The plot is pretty simplistic. There are these four big monsters that are out in the desert. Nobody knows where they came from. They're going and they are hunting all the people down one by one. They dwell underground. They're like these huge monsters that have these snake tongues. They call them graboids. And that's pretty much the plot of the movie. They hunt by vibration since they have no eyes, and you're only safe if you stand on solid rock or just stand still and make no noise and happen to get lucky about that. I watched a review that Siskel and Ebert did on this back in 1990 here on YouTube, and they sat there and scoffed at the idea that this movie takes itself seriously enough to make four big monsters credible villains in the movie, because these monsters are so smart because they're so stupid. They gradually get to learning the movements of the humans and all that, and the way that they come up with combating these creatures is just great, and it's that and the acting which adds a lot to this movie. Stars Kevin Bacon, you have Burt Ward in this movie, you have Michael Grossman, you have Reba McEntire, and that's actually a plus for my childhood because I was brought up on a lot of country music as a kid, and you know, seeing a singer that I actually knew playing in a movie added to its charm a whole lot more. It's got a lot of hilarious moments in it. The shootout scene in the basement with Bert and Heather, I want to say her name is, as the survivalist types, that's hilarious. You've got them homemaking the bombs. You got them running the monster off the cliff, running the monster into the canal. I mean, it's just great stuff. I would equate this as being required that you should have seen in your childhood, along with the Monster Squad and Gremlins, because that's how great of a movie this is to me. If there's a reason why you have not seen this movie, besides being, you know, too young to remember it, I think you were definitely missing out. Go check it out. Now, surprised as I was when I got a little bit older that this movie was able to get a sequel, which is Tremors 2: The Aftershocks. The plot of the movie is basically that the graboids change, and the world has eventually learned of them, and all the survivors from the first movie have gained fame from having been around these monsters as they have been discovered. Sadly, Kevin Bacon is not in this one. I really wish he was, but you get to shine more light on Burt Ward's character, Fred Ward's character. Excuse me. Michael Grossman comes back in this as Burt Gummer, and in a really hilarious scene, you first see him communicating on CB radio with Fred Ward's character. While you pull back and you see the giant graboid head mounted on the wall. That was the monster that tore into their basement in the first movie. That was a plus for me. You also have we have a few new characters we're introduced to in this movie, and the change that the graboids go through in this movie, they turn into shriekers. Now, shriekers go from being they treat the giant worms like cocoons, and each of them has three shrieker pods in it. The shriekers basically look like chickens running around with a graboid head on them, and they're attracted to heat. they have these little heat-seeking glands that shoot up out of, or crests or whatever the hell they are, that shoot up out of their head, and they can see body heat, and it definitely makes a much more complicated matter. And it's funny as you get to go along and transition in these movies that, you know, I don't know who came up with this originally, but it got really good as you see how the monsters work and all that as they keep changing, and it's just terrific. Now, as for the other ones, they got less credibility as they went along. The movies went on a lower budget with each movie, I want to say, and they went from having actual authentic or prosthetic monsters or whatever in these movies to some bad CG, and this kind of led to Tremors 3. Now, as these movies, as I said, went on and got more obscure with their sequels that were straight to DVD, you would either hear about them by if you just happen to go in the video store and see them, or by word of mouth. I picked up Tremors 3 sometime after it came out, and I got to like this movie. Not as good as the first one, but a little bit better than the second one to me. This picks up about 10 years after the first one left off. Val and Fred Ward's character was named Earl. They're gone from this movie. This is all Burt Gummer from here on out, including the TV series, which is a continuance of the third movie, and he plays the main character in the fourth movie, which takes place in the 1800s. This movie, the monsters go from graboids to shriekers to ass blasters. There are some really hilarious scenes in this movie. Burt has gone and made his place completely graboid proof, and there's even a scene where he's actually devoured by one of the graboids, and you think that he's gone, but how he's rescued is extremely hilarious. The ass blasters themselves, they're like the shriekers in a lot of ways, except that they look like full-grown roosters, and they can glide after they have some chemicals in their bodies, like something sulfur, and there's another chemical in there. They mix them together, and they fart, and they take off, and there gets to be about 6 or 7 of these monsters, and there's like a final showdown in the Perfection Valley dump with these ass blasters. And added to which, there's another danger because you have a graboid that does not change. They dub it El Blanco, and eventually it leads off into the series that him and Burt sort of have this kind of Captain Ahab, Moby Dick thing going on, but it's really hilarious. And unfortunately, I don't have pictures for the series or the fourth movie, so you're just going to have to look at this for the time being. The series is awesome to me. They only made one season of it, which is about 13 episodes, and it's just about life and perfection. But now you not only have to deal with El Blanco there, they actually made Perfection Valley into a protected area to protect the gravoid. You have the Shriekers come back into it. You have an episode with the Ass Blaster. You also have some scenes, or quite a few episodes actually, that actually deal with some new monsters that were created thanks to a chemical called Mixmaster, because there was a biochem lab that was put out in the desert, and Burt Gummer, being the anti-government kind of fellow he is going digging deep into that. We have some new characters introduced to this, either changes in cast or new characters brought along. What else? The new character, especially that I found hilarious, was Cletus Poppenberger, who played a biochemist in this. He's played by Christopher Lloyd, who everybody knows as Doc Brown from Back to the Future. He is just hilarious in there. When Burt Gummer is not in this show, Christopher Lloyd steals this in everything that he does. And a lot of the characters in here are just great. Now, what's interesting about this is that this show, to me, even though it's based off of some movies that are low in budget, it actually takes itself, it doesn't take itself seriously, But what's ironic about it, where you have shows like Terminator: The Sarah Connor Chronicles, try and translate continuity over from their movies into a show, this one actually does it a lot better than Terminator did. It didn't do as well as Stargate, but it's actually a little bit better than Terminator, even though Terminator is an alright show and better than its third and fourth movies. And the fourth movie itself is pretty funny. It's nothing spectacular, but it's worth a once over. If you haven't seen any of these movies, I highly recommend that you check them out, because you're really missing